Before you die, what do you want your last words to be? 95% of the ocean remains unexplored. What is something you think may be there? Which event from history will always be funny? Ancient Korea had special recording officials whose job was to record everything. They were considered separate from the government, so the emperor of the time was not allowed to give them orders or tell them not to record something. Of course, some emperors would try anyway. On one occasion, King Taejong, 15th century, fell off his horse while hunting. The recorder nearby wrote it down. The emperor insisted that it be removed from the record and even tried to have the report destroyed. This led to some nonsense as the emperor kept destroying their work, but the recorders kept copying it and hiding it in increasingly obscure places, and of course recorded the whole thing as it happened. A few hundred years later, and the only thing the emperor is famous for is trying to hide the fact that he fell off his horse. The con man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice and got away with it. Funniest thing is, not only he sold it, he got a bribe out of it. During the Napoleonic Wars, a French ship sank off the coast of the Hartlepool, England. The only survivor was the captain's pet monkey, which he always dressed in a French military uniform. The locals freaked out because the law was that any French military found on British soil must be executed as a spy. So they ordered the standard punishment, spies, death by hanging. Except instead of dying, monkey just kept climbing up the rope because it was a monkey. Hartlepool has since embraced their failure at executing a tiny primate for military espionage. The local football team is nicknamed the Monkey Hangers. Andrew Jackson taught a parrot how to swear, and it had to be removed from his funeral because it upset the attendees. In 1866, when going to war, Liechtenstein's army of 80 men came back with 81 men after making a friend from the enemy's side. Dennis Radar asking the police if they could track him through a floppy disk and them replying no, so he sends the floppy disk. Dumbass. The Kettle War. It was the 8th of October, 1784. The Dutch Kingdom and the Holy Roman Empire had a short naval battle, and the only casualty was a kettle full of soup that got hit by a cannonball. That was the only shot that was fired. One game where Michael Jordan scored 69 points and Stacey King scored 1. A reporter asked Stacey what he thought of playing in that game, and he stated, "I will always remember this as the night that Michael Jordan and I combined to score 70 points." Potatoes were not very popular as a food in France, like they were seen as only fit for animals. A pharmacist named Parmentier knew they were good food and wanted to popularize them among the working class. He got a 2-acre farm to grow potatoes and placed armed guards around it. People assumed armed guards meant something very valuable was growing there, so they began to steal the potatoes. That's how potatoes became popular in France's working class. During the Salem trials, a farmer sued a snail because it was loitering on his land. On Sunday, when the snail did not show up, it was marked as absent and guilty. That time Fabio got hit in the face by a goose on a roller coaster. Everyone mentioning the Emu Wars, not even Australia's funniest moment in history. Harold Holt was the country's prime minister in 1967 when he went for a swim in the ocean and went missing, presumed drowned. 2 years later, they named the Harold Holt Memorial swimming pool. If you won $5 million on the condition you couldn't use it to buy a house, a vehicle, or vacation, what's the first thing you would treat yourself to? That's just not fair. A house is all I want in this godforsaken world. New teeth for me and anyone else that wants them. Fully stocked giant workshop, one side for woodworking and the other side for metal machining and blacksmithing. Lots of rare and unique materials for making stuff and every guide or manual that shows you how. It may not be a house, but I'd probably end up living in it full time. Invest and retire. 4% yearly returns on $500 million is $200,000 a year, enough to very comfortably live without having to work. Pay off my student loans. What will you do with the $100 you'll have left over? Buy myself a coffee and a donut. I would take care of my parents. I realize this isn't exactly a treat yourself, but TBH, the stress relief that would provide would be the best thing I could buy. I'd put it in the stock market, then use that money to do whatever I want. Early retirement. Definitely treating myself to a huge serving of unemployment. One of everything in the Lego store and an orange soda. I would build a really big shed with all the stuff you would find in a house inside it. Hey, this guy's onto something. Go to college to learn fun things, a foreign language, sewing, or art classes. Do they teach sewing in college? I don't even teach it in middle school anymore. Bring back home ec, we need it. Dinner, therapy, financial advisor. I would treat myself to being debt-free and then go on a shopping spree. Accidental poet, lol, and a golden toilet in which to pee. Deposit in the bank, use it to secure a $5 million loan, repay loan with original $5 million, pay off my house, buy a new vehicle, and go on vacation. Nobody tells me what to do. Which celebrity death shocked you the most? Phil Hartman, Alan Rickman, Carrie Fisher, followed by her mom, Debbie Reynolds, the next day. Steve Irwin. I was shocked that Farrah Fawcett and Michael Jackson died on the same day. I was on a plane when he died and got to the airport, and the bar was just packed with people watching TV and distraught about it. It was a moment in time. Smartphones weren't very good, and people used to talk about things like this with strangers. Heath Ledger. The career this man was about to have. David Bowie. Keep his illness a secret, and him to die right after his birthday birthday was so sad. Robin Williams, it was just so sad and tragic. I cried. Chadwick Boseman, no one really had any idea of his struggle with cancer and only knew him as a beefed up Black Panther. Dude was a Marvel superhero for crying out loud, then one day, gone. Bob Saget, happened out of nowhere. Philip Seymour Hoffman, my favorite actor at the time, completely unaware of his battles. Same, such an amazing actor, what a wide range of characters he portrayed with success. We're so lucky to have had the chance to see him, and so poor to not know what else he could have done. River Phoenix, Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters. I was at the vet having my 16-year-old cat checked out. His front leg seemed to stop working for unknown reasons. In the waiting room, I hopped on Reddit to take my mind off things. Top post was about Taylor Hawkins dying, then the vet came in and said that there was nothing they could do for my cat and they recommended putting him to sleep. What a horrible day that was. I still cry when I think about it. My answer is Alan Rickman, whose death still has gutted me over 7 years later. But reading through all these people gone too soon almost has me in tears. Prince, Mac Miller. What true fact sounds like total BS. Someone died on the Bulgarian version of Survivor and the producers just decided to keep going like nothing happened. Martin Luther King Jr. and Anne Frank were the same age. King just lived longer. Timelines F me up. Fred Astaire had a life membership in the National Skateboard Society and broke his left wrist skateboarding at 78. There are only 25 blimps left on Earth. A man, Michael Lotito, ate an entire airplane. It took him 2 years. He ate an airplane? How does that even, work? How do you not die? 14 years before the Titanic sank, a fictional story was written by a man named Morgan Robertson. In the story, the ship was described as the largest ever built at the time, same as the Titanic, and it was also woefully short on lifeboats. And it also struck an iceberg and sank. The ship in the story was also a triple screw propeller liner, and it was named the Titan. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. Venus has a very slow planetary rotation. It takes 285 Earth days for 1 day on Venus. A year is 255 days. Your body contains more non-human cells than human cells. You're a neurotic, gassy generation ship for trillions of microbes. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, it's probably a brand new unique configuration of cards in all card decks ever to exist in history. Oxford University did not offer calculus in its early days because it hadn't been invented yet. Fireflies don't eat. They do all of their eating as larvae. Glowworms. Vatican City contains 5.9 popes per square mile. What's a food that you can't eat due to its texture? For me, before we get into this, my entire life it's always been specifically iceberg and romaine lettuce. I have no problem with spinach or arugula or anything like that or kale, but something about iceberg or romaine lettuce makes me actually throw up. And so going, ordering food, being a big man, they just are like, ew, you don't want the veggies on it? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, it'll make me puke. Anything chewy, like gristle, or really fatty parts of a steak. Anthony Bourdain would hate this sub. I haven't had this in a long time, but kidney. My mom used to put it in stew, and it had to be one of the weirdest textures I've ever felt. Tripe, oysters, soggy cereal, or soggy cake. Just ew. Soggy cereal, I feel you there, but have you ever had a Tres Leches cake? It's soggy as hell, but oh my god, is it so good. Cottage cheese. This one I don't understand. Cottage cheese is delicious. I'm autistic. How much time do you have? Lima beans. Little packets of sawdust. Avocado. I know. Good fats and all that. I just can't. I can do a small amount of guacamole, but not straight avocado. Any soft food like spinach dip with crunchy onions hidden throughout. Also, eating a soft piece of chicken just to be jump scared with a hard piece of rubbery gristle. Coconut flakes. Non-crispy chicken skin. Shudder. Celery. I was gonna say this. Can't stand the strings. Mushrooms. What screams, I want attention on social media? That's what I scream. So if you could, please follow me on Twitter at SaysMasonLive. Thank you. Posting quotes to your story about how you're a private person making moves in silence. Showing your imaginary haters who's boss. No one cares. I just mowed the lawn yesterday and guess what I saw? All these snakes. SMH my head. If you ain't a real one who's always holding it down for me, then unfollow. Posting yourself crying. Such a bad day. I don't want to talk about it. Doing a stupid fucking dance in the middle of a busy public place and then having the shocked Pikachu audacity to be upset when someone ruins their shot. Yes, I feel like an old man shaking his fist at the sky. I'm 36F. Nobody asked, but I will die on this hill. Making a post declaring that you're leaving social media and not coming back. As an autistic adult, I hate when parents post their autistic kids for attention, especially when they're posting meltdowns, etc. It's disrespectful as f*** and super sad. Pranks against strangers. Those guys. Giving money to poor people, recording and posting it on social media with sad background music. Fake animal rescue videos. It also screams, I'm a monster. OMG. I can't believe insert disaster in insert city. This is so close to home because my boyfriend and I vacationed there last year for our 2nd anniversary. It stayed at the Ritz-Carlton Ocean View Suite. The people were so friendly. Thoughts and prayers. Everything's always gotta be about you, you know? Most inspirational LinkedIn posts. LinkedIn is all just one corporate circle jerk. Nude photos with inspirational quotes. Fitness influencers posting body positivity BS that is just 2 identical photos of them looking perfect and a title like, it's all camera angles. Look how bloated I am after my delicious breakfast of a tablespoon of raw chia seeds drizzled with free fat plain yogurt. I had to learn to love this body too. do? Everything. I mean, isn't screaming for attention the whole point of social media? Thirst traps. What is your favorite quote? We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. One moment of patience and a moment of anger can save 1,000 moments of regret. There is considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists. Yellowstone Park Ranger. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. If you choose not to find joy in the snow, you'll have less joy in your life, but the same amount of snow. It's okay to go through awful places, just don't stop and unpack. You know, it's funny. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. I love some BoJack. Measure twice, cut once. You go to heaven for the climate and hell for the company. Mark Twain. Knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. Never attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. Principles only mean something if you stand by them when it's inconvenient. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Everybody has a chapter they don't read aloud. Be the things that you love the most about the people who are gone. Knowledge is knowing that you know nothing. Socrates. That's us, dude! Bill and Ted. What's an outdated fact that you were taught in school that has since been disproven? You can see the Great Wall of China from space. ISS. The food pyramid. Cracking your knuckles can cause arthritis. Alright, everybody, stop what you're doing right now. Crack your knuckles this instant. Ooh, I think I got it. Awesome. You won't always have a calculator in your pocket. Taste bud zones on the tongue. I was taught that Mercury was the hottest planet. A student corrected them on a national level, and they changed how it was taught. Pluto, you beautiful son of a bitch. I still believe in you, my dog. Viva la Pluto! F you! Thank you for your support. Pluto gang, rise up! Guys, like this video if you're a part of the Pluto gang. I know I am. The US will be using the metric system in 10 years. I wish that was true. I was taught some version of genetics being immutable, so the emergence of epigenetics as a field has upended a lot of my understanding of how genetics and environment interact. Blood is blue in your veins, but turns red when it hits oxygen. I don't know if it was really a fact then or been disproven, but I learned this is not true. 8th grade health class teacher taught us that. Humans have only fight or flight response to stress. Yep, a buddy of mine just farts uncontrollably when under a lot of stress. Legit, Lamau. I feel bad for that guy. The difference between man and animals is that animals don't use tools. Myth busted. You can be anything you want when you grow up. Carrots help vision. Sitting too close to the TV harms vision. Can't swim within 30 minutes after eating. What career would you choose if the salary didn't matter? I'd be doing exactly what I was doing right now. Lending my beautiful voice for the people. There's a little bookstore by my house that is friggin' amazing, and I'd happily work there for the rest of my life if they didn't get paid $14 an hour. I love books. I'd probably just be an artist or a craftsman with a studio or shop in a cabin in some remote area. A writer, librarian. 1, for the books, and 2, truly the library saved my life and gave me a way out of poverty. Lowe's Garden Center with the plant specialist, or being the plant specialist. Best job I ever had. We built displays all year, got a decent amount of physical work with randomly loading mulch and miscellaneous stuff. You learn about everything because they sell the parts to build and run and fix it, and you get to be outside all year. I also really like flowers. Something in the zoo probably. A rhino? Rhino. Not so much a career, but I would walk the national park trails picking up garbage. I own a massive farm and take in abandoned dogs. Spend every day training the dogs and earning their loyalty. Then we march on the Capitol. Something involving slamming a wrecking ball into stuff. Food writing. Maybe it's reviewing restaurants, and maybe it's detailing openings and closings of fun culinary events happening in town. Maybe it's attempting to emulate writing like John McPhee's book Oranges. And maybe it's a mixture of all 3 of these ideas. Wildlife photographer. Kindergarten teachers. I love kids and I work in IT. Cat herder. Is that a thing? Professional gamer. If salary didn't matter, I could consistently suck at my games and no one would care. I'd be just fine. The thread makes me a little sad. Imagine how much better off we'd be if we did what we loved instead of what we feel we need to do to survive. What's something that people don't understand until they experience it themselves? Caring for an aging parent. I thought I understood, but I didn't. And my experience interacting with other people who haven't had to do this shows me that it's something very difficult to understand until you've done it. People say the time comes when you have to parent your parent, but it isn't like that at all. When people get old, lose their faculties, and have some cognitive decline, not even dementia, we all decline as we age, they can very likely become completely different people in a lot of ways. Your parents can be the most generous, reasonable, easygoing, and empathetic people all their lives until they start to decline, but age changes us all. How truly liberating financial freedom is to your daily life. Losing a child, it breaks you in ways that are hard to explain. Depression, honestly, those who have never experienced it haven't a clue how bad it really is. Power of water, people think, oh, I can swim, so I'm perfectly safe on this river or lake or cove, bay, beach, or boat. Whether the ocean or a calm lake or river, the water has many, many ways to kill, even the most experienced swimmer, and almost all of those ways are invisible. Chronic illness or disability, ADHD, poverty, severe dental pain, and I'm guessing childbirth. The loss of a loved one. I'm sure as frick wasn't prepared to lose my dad. Who is though? No one teaches you that sort of thing. It just hit you when it hit you, and you can go through it as best as you can. Homelessness, panic attacks, a friend backstabbing you, especially when you've been nothing but decent to them. It really hurts, and it can't be described, only felt. But I'd never wish that pain on anyone. ADHD is so much worse than the jokes would have you believe. Having a mentally unhinged parent or sibling. If you relate to any degree, my heart is with you. Which singer has the best voice in your opinion? Ella Fitzgerald. I'm blown away by her skill every time I hear a new song of hers. There's a lot. She could sing literally anything and make it sound beautiful. I adore Marvin Gaye. That a cappella version of Heard It Through the Grapevine is incredible. Ann Wilson from Heart. That's a voice which has power and smoothness. I could, and do, listen to her voice all day long. Pavarotti had an absolutely amazing voice. Jeff Buckley. Absolutely unreal range and control. His guitar skills are no joke either. Sam Cooke. Whitney Houston. So many iconic songs, but truly her national anthem is simply the best one ever. Freddie Mercury. George Michael. Art Garfunkel. I'm seeing lots of names of singers who are no longer with us. RIP. But a living singer that really moves me is Hozier. I've only heard him recently and I can't get enough. Dolly Parton. Like fine crystal. Tracy Chapman and Sinead O'Connor. Beautiful voices. Certainly not my favorite artist, but I've always appreciated how Bruno Mars sounds the same as the recordings when he performs live. Also, fantastic entertainer all around. Stevie Nicks. On that note, shout out to the late Christian McVie. Amy Lee of Evanescence. If you can erase your memory of one TV show and rewatch it fresh, what would it be? Band of Brothers. True Detective Season 1 was some of the best filming and story ever. Everybody loves Raymond, except I wouldn't watch it again. Futurama. I'd love to marvel again at the pure brilliance of the box episode. Avatar, The Last Airbender, The Good Place, Severance, or Better Call Saul. The Wire, no doubt. What We Do in the Shadows. For me, it's 100% Breaking Bad, Black Mirror, and Inside Number 9. Can I erase my memory of decades of news and then not rewatch any of it? Arrested Development. 95% of the ocean remains unexplored. What is something you think may be there? This morning, I saw a post saying it was 80%. How did we undiscover 15% in a day? I'm pretty sure that at the bottom of the ocean, if you search hard enough, you'll find a G.I. Joe Storm Shadow action figure because I dropped mine over the side of my uncle's boat when I was 7. That G.I. Joe is being now worshipped by sea crabs as we speak. I've always been fascinated by deep sea gigantism. There's also these creatures that are swarms of identical jelly-like clones of themselves that, as a whole mass, would make them some of the biggest living organisms on Earth. They look horrifying too. Each one is unique and they have no real uniform look, just a massive and terrifying. Only a few have been sighted, but there will undoubtedly be huge versions of these. The ocean is a desert with its life underground and the perfect disguise above. Most likely, a bunch of plastic. Most exciting, the ruins of an ancient civilization. A pineapple next to an Easter Island head, which is next to a rock. MH370, the rock's intercontinental belt from 1997. The Logitech controller, obviously. They found that already. Probably a weird fish that bleeds milk from its eyes or something. A giant society of otters, with otter pyramids and organized clam hunts. The No one has yet to find that to this day. People born before 1980, what are some obsolete household items or gadgets from your childhood that younger generations may not even recognize? Those giant projection TVs, the size of a closet, that only look good if you were sat in the exact right spot. That one kid whose parents let him hook up his Nintendo to it was king. The same family probably had one of those satellite dishes in their backyard that were absolutely massive and made your house look like you were trying to spy on the Russians. Phone lines that you share with a few neighbors. It was called a party line. Don't confuse this with the party line of the 90s, where people could, in a talk with several strangers at one time. The switch on the back of the TV to let you use a video game. The VCR recording clicker to pause the recording during commercials. Single button with a long cord to the VCR. Phone cord extension reels. Gave you 50 or 100 feet of phone line so you could go throughout the house. They had a handle and you would wind the wire back into it. I had to explain a rotary phone to a younger colleague and I'm convinced that the conversation is why my body hair started going gray. The house I grew up in had an intercom system. A car phone, like an entire corded telephone that plugged into the cigarette lighter. Computer games that were loaded on cassette tapes. Before you die, what do you want your last words to be? Want to see a dead body? Want to see something cool? I left $1 million in the... I bet I can jump that far. What even are you? While looking at a void, space away from my family. And a 1, and a 2, and a... Goodbye, student loan officer. Nyak, 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 nyak. Sorry for always making bad puns. I promise I'll be dead serious from now on. Be sure to like and subscribe. Death is but a door. Time is but a window. I'll be back to infinity and beyond. That's it for today's video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. Goodbye.